Marrying a fornicatress. It is not permissible for a man to marry a fornicatress, or for a woman to marry a fornicator, unless they have repented. As Allah has said, the adulterer marries not but an adulteress or a polytheist, and the adulteress none marries her except an adulterer or a polytheist. Such a thing is forbidden to the believers from his father on the authority of his grandfather, that Marthad ibn would bring the captives from Mecca to Medina, and in Mecca there was a prostitute named Anak, who was his friend. He said, I came to the Prophet and said, O Messenger of Allah, can I marry Anak? He did not say anything, and then the verse was revealed, the adulterer marries not but an adulteress or a polytheist. He called for me and read that verse to me. Then he said, do not marry her. Void marriages. The Shikha marriage. This is where a man marries off his daughter, sister, or any woman under his guardianship in exchange for him getting married to the man's daughter, sister, or other relative. This contract in this fashion is void, regardless of whether an actual dower is stipulated or not. This conclusion is based on the fact that the Prophet prohibited such a practice and warned against it, and Allah has said, and whatsoever the Messenger gives you, take it, and whatsoever he forbids you, abstain from it. In Sahih Muslim it is recorded on the authority of Abu Huraira that the Prophet forbade the Shikha marriage. He said, Shikha is for a man to say to another man, marry your daughter to me, and I will marry my daughter. Marry your daughter to me, and I will marry my daughter to you. Or marry your sister to me, and I will marry my sister to you. The Prophet also said there is to be no shikha in Islam. These authentic hadith indicate the prohibition of shikha marriage and its voided legal nature. It goes against the law of Allah. The Prophet did not distinguish between the case when the dower was stated and when the dower is not stated. As for what was narrated in the hadith of Ibn, in which shikha is explained as a man marrying his daughter off to another man in exchange for his daughter without there being any dower between them. This explanation, as the scholars have stated, was from the words of the and were not the words of the Prophet. The Prophet explained it in the hadith of Abu Huraira as presented above. It is where a man marries his daughter or sister to another man in exchange for his daughter or sister. He did not mention anything about the dower between them. This indicates that mention or non-mention of the dower has no effect on the ruling. What renders this marriage void is the agreement to exchange the two. This in itself is a great evil, as it may lead to women being forced to wed men they do not desire to wed, out of giving preference to the needs of their guardians instead of the needs of the woman. This is evil and a great wrongdoing to women. Furthermore, this practice may lead to the woman not receiving the dower that is usually given to women who are similar to them, as is common among those who actually practice this rejected type of contract, except for those whom Allah wills to guide aright. In addition, it can also lead to many disputes and arguments after the marriage. These are the immediate punishments for the one who goes against the law of Allah. Marriage solely for the purpose of making a woman once again permissible for her ex-husband. This is where a man marries a thrice divorced woman after she finishes her menses, and then he divorces her so that she can remarry for former husband. This type of marriage is a grave sin and indecency. It is impermissible regardless of whether its goal or action is stated in the marriage contract, if there was agreement upon it before the marriage, or if one of them intended it in his heart only. The one who does such an act is accursed. Ali stated, the Messenger of Allah accursed the one who marries to make a woman permissible for her previous husband, and the one for whom it is done. The Messenger of Allah said, shall I not inform you of the borrowed billy goat? They said, certainly. O Messenger of Allah, he said, he is the one who makes the divorced woman permissible. Allah has cursed the one who marries to make a woman permissible for her previous husband, and the one for whom it is done. From his father that a man came to Ibn about a man who had divorced his wife thrice, and then his brother marries her without any preconceived plan from the original husband in order to make her permissible for him. He asked, is she permissible for the first man? No, not without a marriage, that is, desired and done intentionally. We used to consider that fornication during the time of the Messenger of Allah. Marriage of pleasure. This is a temporary or non-perpetual marriage in which a man contracts with a woman for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or any other specified period. There is agreement that this type of marriage is forbidden and that such a contract is void. Samura said, the Prophet permitted us marriages of pleasure during the year of the